Well, next up, taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screens inside of the Ford Edge. Now this specific one is the ST model of the vehicle, so we can see the ST badge along the very bottom of the wheel. And you're going to have a very similar setup across most of the Edge lineup. One thing to consider though, I should say, is that inside of some versions it might be a single screen, but this one obviously is a double. So we're going to go through and you're going to learn everything that you need to know. First thing, the steering wheel inside of the Edge might be heated or might not, just depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. If you do have a heated steering wheel, in our Sync 4 media screen along the very bottom there, we can toggle the heated steering wheel on or off that way, and heated all the way around, which is nice. Adjusting the steering wheel inside of it might be power or might be manual. So power steering wheel, we've got that flexibility and it's telescopic, so in, out, up and down, which is very useful. But if yours wasn't, it would just be just by our left knee. We'd be able to drop a bar in order to be able to adjust it that way instead. But let's dive through and I'll show you everything you need to know. First thing, this one has paddle shifters. So minus on the left, plus on the right-hand side. So if you wanted to adjust out what gear you're in, you technically do have the flexibility to be able to do that, which is great. Not every version of the Escape has the paddle shifters, but it is available there as an option. I love the paddle shifters. So good. Now we've got two individual pads here. So pad on the left side controls the left screen. Pad on the right side controls that little right screen. But before we get to the screens, let's look at all the buttons along the bottom. Starting off on the left, this one has our adaptive cruise control system. So we can toggle the system on by pushing this button. And actually, I'm going to get rid of that message. So if you ever get a message on the screen on either side, all we do is press the OK button, and that's going to get rid of any messages there. So back to adaptive cruise. Do we want to turn the system on or off? We can see that the system's on because we've got a little card that's shown up there. So actually, I'm going to zoom in, make it a little bit easier for you to see. There we go. And all I'm doing is just using the buttons along the bottom left. So we've got our on-off switch. We can cancel the speed out. So if we've got our adaptive speed going, and then we can either plus or minus. So once we get to cruising speed and we want to set the speed we're at, we go set, and then we can either increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. This is a distance indicator. So you can see there it's adjusting the number of cars. So how close or far away do you want to be from the vehicle that's in front of you? So that's going to be a matter of personal preference there. Honestly, for that one, I normally just recommend going for 2 is generally pretty good in my books, but it's a matter of preference. How close do you like to be away from the car in front of you? And then we've got this one, which is our lane centering system. So lane centering and lane keeping are two different systems. Lane centering, what that's going to do is keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. So it's not hands-free driving like Ford's Blue Cruise system is, but it's a fairly hands-free driving experience, which is really nice. So what's going to happen is once you hit the certain speed, that's going to go green and you know that the system's activated. It does need to recognize the lane markings though in order for it to work. And that's even for the lane centering system, or the lane keeping system, I should say. So we've got our lane keeping button along the tip of the stick, which I'll touch on in just a second, but that's the basics of the system here. If you didn't have the adaptive cruise, it would look slightly different down here. So it just wouldn't have the distance indicator there. So, but you'd still be able to plus minus, turn the system on or off, etc. Along the right-hand side, we can either change songs or radio stations. We can either answer or hang up on a phone call. We've got a voice command prompt. So do we want to do things like change songs, radio stations? If you had factory navigation, we could navigate with our voice. If you were hooked up through either iPhone or Android devices, you could also do a longer press and hold of this button to activate your Google or your Siri assistant. We can mute out our volume, and then we've also got our volume rockers there on top of that. So very straightforward. Now, the sticks, we'll get there next. So there's a button on the tip of this stick. That's going to turn our lane keeping system on or off. And that system works 3 different ways. So first way is if we start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it's going to give us a bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if we're running over a rumble pavement. Second way is it's going to nudge us back into our lane. And the third way is it's going to do both of them. So it'll just give us a gentle steering wheel shake, while it'll nudges us back into our lane on top of that. So pretty good safety setting, which we could toggle on or off by pushing the button on the tip of the left stick there. We can flash our high beams out if we want to. Stick on the right-hand side is going to be for our windshield wipers. So we've got our front wipers there. There's a button on the tip of the right stick, and that's going to be for our rear wiper. So we can toggle that on or off very easily there too. We pull in towards us for our front wiper fluid. We push away in order to turn our rear wiper fluid on. So very straightforward there. But so straightforward. Nice and simple, nice metallic highlights, but let's kind of zoom in a little bit more so you can see what's going on with each screen there. So let's zoom in a tiny little bit, and up you go. So pad on the left side, like I said, is going to be for that left pad there, or the left screen, I should say. So we go up and down between different sub-screens. So tons of different options available. So we can go left, right, up and down, etc. So we're going to start off with our display mode. So as of right now, on kilometers per hour, we can press for miles per hour there. So very straightforward. Dropping down, we've got intelligent all-wheel drive. So which wheel is getting which amount of power as we go. Down, you can see there, we've got our turbo gauge, distance to empty. We've got our tachometer. And then we've got a little bit of a split view there. So we can kind of adjust what's showing. So do we want just our gas? Do we want our gas and then our temperature on top of that? Tire pressure, back to our speedometer there again. Showing off different trip counters. And then if you ever need to reset, all we do is press and hold OK. And that's going to reset us. Trip 2 counter, same idea. Moving back out, fuel economy. So you can see what's currently going on with fuel, average speed, engine operation. So as of right now, the auto start stop system's turned on. We can toggle this it off, etc. And that's just all done through our center stack. You can see our fuel economy, etc. And like I said, we can just do a press and hold OK if we wanted to reset that system. SEER is a driver assistance setting, so blind spot system. That lets us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Cross traffic alert. If somebody's coming perpendicular, so from the left or right side, it's going to let us know of a potential collision. So that's as we're backing up. It's going to let us know if there's somebody coming from the left or the right. Cruise control, we've got the two different types. So we've either got adaptive or normal. So with the adaptive cruise, that's a set it and forget it cruise control, but we could technically default it to just the normal instead. So if you hate that the car is going to slow down for you based off of the traffic flows, you could technically turn that off if you want to. Driver alert. If we start to veer over too many times without signaling, eventually it's going to tell us we should probably take a break. And then our lane keeping system. So we've got 3 different options there. So the alert, if we start to veer over without signaling, we'll get a bit of a steering wheel shake. Like I mentioned, if we're running over level pavement, the aid is going to gently nudge us back into our lane. The alert and the aid are going to do both of them. And then the intensity of that steering wheel shake. Pre-collision assist, if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it's going to actively brake for us. Evasive steering essentially turns our steering wheel into like a hypersensitivity mode. So it's going to be easier for you to be able to get out of potential obstacles there instead. So it tightens things up nicely. Trailer sway control, if the vehicle recognizes there's trailer sway going on, it's automatically going to apply engine braking to get that sway under control. Series of different vehicle settings. So there's auto engine off, our DTE calculation, easy entry exit. If you've got power seats, what's going to happen there is when you turn the vehicle off, it's going to lower the seats and back them up so you can get out of the vehicle a little bit easier. Options for lighting, so our high beams. So if our high beams are on and a vehicle recognizes somebody's oncoming, it's going to automatically dim them for us and bring them right back up again. Auto lamp delay, so when we go to lock the vehicle, do we want the lamp staying on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 120 seconds, or just turning off automatically? Options for locks, so do we want the vehicle doors to automatically unlock for us? If we go to shut a door and we go to lock the vehicle, if the doors aren't shut properly, do we want to get chirps letting us know? And then when we go to unlock the doors, do all the doors become unlocked, or is it just the driver's door? So a matter of preference there. And then moving down, we've got oil life. So if you're changing oil yourself, you can do a reset just by pressing and holding OK. Back again into our power liftgate. So if you wanted to disable the outside switch, you'd have that flexibility. So if you wanted to kill off power to that back gate, you could do that. Remote start. We can remote start through the fob or through the Ford Pass app on our phone. But if we remote start, what happens? Do we want it based off of our last setting, or do we want the vehicle to determine what the climate control should be? Seats and wheels. Do we want to have the heated seats and the heated steering wheels coming on automatically? Or do we not want them coming on? And that's when we go to remote start. And how long do we want the start to last for? So either 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Seatbelts, who's currently in the vehicle and who's currently plugged in. So as of right now, I'm not plugged in, which is why nothing's showing there. and then windows. So we do have the flexibility of using our key fob in order to roll the windows down. Let's hop outside and I'll show you how that process works. All right, now using the key fob in order to roll the windows down is straightforward. So all we're going to do is press the unlock button twice, and on the second button press, we're going to hold. So we're going to go 1, 2, and hold. We can release and press the lock button in order to stop it. And in order to restart, we press it again twice. And back down it goes. And that's for the driver passenger first row. The back windows are never going to roll down. And then unfortunately, in order to roll them up, we can't use the key fob. We do have to do it manually ourselves inside. And down we've got our wipers, so courtesy wipe. So if we've If we've got our wipers going, what's going to happen is at the end of the wipe cycle, with courtesy wipe enabled, it's going to go one more time in order to clear away any excess liquid. Rain sensing wipers, normally a good idea to turn those off in the winter time. I normally honestly just keep them off completely. That's a matter of preference. My key, series of options. So we do have the flexibility of creating certain limitations for our key fob. So if you don't want your kid to, go very, very fast, you could do that. You don't want the radio coming on until the seatbelt's plugged in, you've got that flexibility. So you can create a unique key if you want to. If you want it so that it can't go past a certain speed, you can also set that up, which is kind of nice. Display setup. So do we want to show either miles per gallon, liters, etc.? Temperature, do we want Fahrenheit or Celsius? For gauges, do we want to show the fuel gauge or the fuel and the tack gauge? Tire pressure, do we want to measure it in PSI, kPa, or bar? Do we want English, Spanish, or French as our default language? And that is that. So I know quite a few different settings that are available there. We don't have a ton of flexibility as to the dynamic look of the display. Like, we can change a few small things, but I mean, it's a mix between digital and analog there. Now, along the right side, that's all controlled through the pad on this right. So it's honestly a little bit more basic in comparison. So we've either got entertainment, navigation, or phone. Entertainment, so you can see there, we've got what's currently going on with our stations. So do we want AM, FM, Sirius, etc.? So you've got a few different options that are available there. Navigation, so we don't have any navigation currently going, but if we say, navigate to Tim Hortons.
Which item would you like?
Okay, and we're just selecting it through the middle here.
Starting route to Tim Hortons.
There you go, so computing route, and you can see right through the cluster screen there, we can see exactly what's going on with our route. So really, really nice. It's not full stretched across, but it still is really cool that we've got the flexibility to have it show up there. And then we can go across if we want to cancel the route, cancel, and it just defaults us back to our compass view instead. And then phone, so no phone's connected, but if a phone was connected, we'd have the flexibility of looking at our missed calls, our contacts, and things like that. But honestly, I'd just recommend the big one there. Just press the voice command prompt to be able to do things, like I said, to make phone calls. We can change radio stations. We'd be able to change climate control settings and so many other things. But if you want to walk through that Sync 4 media screen, check down in the description of this video. I've done a fully comprehensive walkthrough showing you how absolutely everything works. And I know there's quite a lot of information there, but that's everything you need to know about the steering wheel as well as the cluster screens inside of the Ford Edge.